Welcome to my show. A guest here. Her name is Alicia Meek. Mrs. Alicia, how are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing very well.
All right, thank you so much. And also, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity, Mrs. Alicia. Firstly, you are an intuitive coach. You are also a NLP practitioner and a certified nutritionist. Can you please, Mrs. Alicia, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mrs. Alicia?
Absolutely. So, yes, I started out as a clinical nutritionist and herbalist in my mid 20s and very quickly got burnt out by that and noticed that a lot of my clients that I'm coaching them on lifestyle. They wanted me to coach them on everything in life. They were putting all of their questions and their problems in, which was really great in a way, and I actually really enjoyed. But over time, it was like I'm not actually qualified to be answering these questions or helping with these things. And so I decided to move away from clinical nutrition because I found it really overwhelming, and then I got into fitness. And eventually, I ended up moving to Australia and I met this really incredible woman who is an intuitive coach, and she travels around in a gypsy wagon and goes to festivals all over Australia. And so she started to teach me all of these things about how to be a coach, and then I went into getting as much education as I could as well. I have certificates in psychology, in life coaching, in counseling, in all of these different things. And because I'm not held back by any association, I do actually get to have a really unique spin on coaching and counseling and help people in a way that I personally find has a lot more value and really gives them everything that they need in order to move forward, which is what I truly want for them. I don't want them to leave just having a little bit of information, because I do use tarot cards sometimes in my sessions as well. But I want people to leave with really a practical idea about how they're going to move forward, how they can improve themselves, because a lot of the time these people have made a bad decision, and or they have allowed themselves to stay in a toxic situation. And so what I work to do is let's look at more internally. Let's not blame the external world or really blame ourselves either. Let's just go within and see what we can move around here, so that next time you pick the right man, or you or you don't take a job that is toxic because it has more money, or you don't yell at someone in the street and get into an argument. Like those types of things is like, how can we do self-improvement that is all based around spirituality, mental health, mental well-being, emotionality, and really I'm kind of sneaking emotional intelligence in everywhere I can as well.
Very, very beautiful. And that shows the beauty of at times when we do a lot of things, as you said earlier, you had a lot of experience, but you were not really satisfied in those background. And when you got to the position, you went into fitness and other activities, which also led you to come to Australia. And that is the beauty sometimes in our life. And now you are doing a lot of encouraging when it comes to coaching aspects to build people on the right path they need to go with their life. Because sometimes in life, when we get to a certain stage, we need guidance. We need someone who can make us understand better. And I'm very glad that you're actually doing that in the life you've come today. And also from the experience you've had, have you written any book or do you also plan to write any book in the coming future, Mrs. Alicia?
So I have written a lot of workbooks, so kind of like step-by-step books, mostly around women, how to understand their menstrual cycle in terms of the moon. And this is kind of where like my woo-woo comes into the nutrition world. And I've kind of taken all of my education and blended it into one offering. And so I do have some workbooks. I am working on a couple of books right now. I don't have release dates yet. But yes, I am going to be working on a book specifically around morning rituals and going really deep into morning rituals, because I just really believe that is where, no matter what situation you are in life, you can change your life and begin to move towards the life that you want by integrating these morning rituals that I personally do every single day. I practice what I preach. I sit down at this table every single day and I have a list of things that I go through that feel really good to me. It doesn't feel like a chore that I have to do, which I I always want to try to encourage people is like there's always a way to take these important practices and make them so that they don't feel like a chore. And one of my ways is I make this really amazing drink and it has cacao and decaf coffee and honey and cinnamon and ashwagandha and it tastes so good and it's such this pleasurable experience. And I have my heated blanket and I have my dog and I sit down every single morning and I have all these pieces that just feel so good and I put on some music and yeah, I feel fantastic. And as I start to go through it, all the morning rituals that I personally do, because I set up a number of them that people can choose a la carte and they go, oh, this one is not going to work for me. I'm not going to want to do that. Or this one sounds great. I'm going to try this. And you can pick a set of five. And today you could do one. Tomorrow you could do four. The next day you could do five. Sometimes my morning practice is 10 minutes and sometimes it's 2.5 hours. It really depends how much time I have that day.
Very beautiful. It's also inspiring that you've written a lot of workbook as well, and also probably in the coming future write something that could also, become a fully book that could also help others along the way, and also the experience you've had. Sometimes what we teach is what we have to actually also need to practice as well, and you've actually been doing that, and also the people who are also giving this guidance, they are also taking it more seriously in some one way or the other. And no matter how it works for us, because we all are different beings and we all have different personalities, but no matter how little and what works for us, I think it should be a value to us so that we can be in a position whereby we feel calm and happy and also live the life of less stress in the life we find ourselves. I would like to drive to the point of autopilot because many listeners they could be in the position where they rush through their days on autopilot. What do you
Mhm.
think, as you've been doing some daily ritual, that you think someone can start using to feel more grounded and less reactive, Mrs. Alicia?
Absolutely. So the idea of autopilot in the body begins with waking up stressed out. So you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? I have all these things to do today. And then you dissociate from your life to a certain extent so that you can get through that day. And that's a survival mode. And a survival mode is necessary at some point. If you have a funeral that day, there's going to be a level of autopilot that's probably going to help you. But for the day by day, especially if you have aspirations and goals and you want to become a better person yourself, or you want to find your best partner, you want to find your career, you want to create some wealth for yourself, you want to create a business, then this autopilot and this disconnection from yourself is not at all helpful. And so you wake up, you feel stressed out, and anxious about the day. So you just, oh, I gotta run into the day because I've just got to get all of this stuff done. So I'm just gonna run through them. Here's my coffee. I'm getting in the car. I'm doing all these things. I'm being mean to my wife and my kids, and I'm and I'm yelling at somebody on the street. Get out of the way of my car! Don't you know I'm more important than you? And I'm in such a rush. And let's just we got to take all that down. We have to take all of that energy down before we even leave our house so that we don't take it with us. Because if somebody wants to give you a promotion, when you're like clearly this like anxious, like scattered, almost upset person that has a reactive behavior, it's very unlikely that the love of your life is going to be like, oh, this person seems great. I want to be with them for the rest of my life, or let's give this person a promotion. No, I wouldn't want to give that person a promotion because they've shown unstable behavior. And so it all starts in that morning. So creating that slow practice first thing in the morning. And so the easiest thing to do is to get up earlier so that you can have that time. Is that 10 minutes? Is that 15 minutes? Is that 30 minutes? I recommend 30 minutes because sometimes it takes me 10 minutes just to make my drink. And then I need a minimum of 20 minutes to be able to sit down and get into my rituals, which, in combination I call my practice. And so I sit down, I make that drink. You can start with a spiritual practice of some kind, whatever your spiritual practice is, because they are all so similar and so wonderful. you can sit down and engage with that. And that can be if you have a course online, you could watch a 10-minute video, you could grab a book, you could review whatever Bible it is that you're into, review a section of that, reconnect with that part of you that creates morality, that creates connection, that creates community, and then reconnect with yourself as well. And so, in that reconnection with yourself, there's so many ways to do that. You can grab a journal and you can just start to write out your thoughts. And in those thoughts, you can write, what am I trying to accomplish today? Who am I showing up in the world? So, having these questions for yourself so that you are explaining to your brain, you're explaining to your conscious and your unconscious mind, here is how we are going to step forward once we leave this house. So, it sounds so simple, but you're actually making agreements with yourself and the different pieces of yourself because we have different pieces. We have the unconscious mind, and it has a mind of its own. We have the inner child, we have the ego, we have all of these pieces. So let's get them all together in the morning and be like, hey guys, let's take all these pieces of ourselves and get it in alignment, literally alignment. So here's where I want to go. That's where I want to go. I want to have that career and that life and that and that and that. Okay, so that means that all of my actions need to line up with that. All my words need to line up with that. All of my decisions need to line up with that. The people that I hang out with need to align with that. Like, so literally getting everything into that alignment. And so taking that time in the morning to do that through journaling, through you can use some breath work, like I do breath work for about 2 minutes every single morning. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I was born an anxious person. I was born an anxious. It wasn't really a choice of mine. My parents told me when you were 4 years old, you were anxious. And so I've had to really spend my entire life being 40 now, cultivating how to ground myself. And so, one of the biggest things that I have in terms of a morning ritual is creating a morning declaration. So, I do actually have a course on all of this. It's called Wild Morning Rituals. And so it explains all of this a little bit further and gives you a check sheet so that you can find this like a la carte menu for yourself. But the biggest one that I recommend for people is called the morning declaration. And so you can do this in a power pose. You can do this while tapping. You can do this while standing up and like exclaiming it into the world. But is it okay if I give you a little example? I made a modified one. I don't want everybody to know what my personal one is. But yeah, so generally what I do is I'm either power posing or I have my palms up, which is a sign of openness and surrender. And like I welcome creator, I welcome God, I welcome universe, I welcome spirit into myself. So I wake each morning feeling refreshed, grounded, and ready for my day. My home and my energy is calm and clear and supportive. I nourish my body, my mind, and my spirit through movement, stillness, and intention. I create space to connect with the universe and step into alignment. My mornings are sacred and they shape the tone of my life. I welcome growth. I welcome learning. I welcome new possibilities. I release the fear of the unknown and I trust my ability to figure things out. I am proud of the person I am becoming. So that's really short, but that can make the biggest difference in the body, in the mind, with the inner child and the ego and the unconscious and all of these different pieces. It's like, hey, this is who we're being. And immediately on day one, when you do this, you're going to feel a little bit high. Day two, you're going to feel a little bit high too. Eventually, maybe it gets a little bit boring. You need to switch it up a little bit, change the words, change the paragraphs, get in touch. What are my values? What are my goals? How can I turn this into basically a set of affirmations that I am saying about myself? So that is the morning declaration, my number one recommendation.
Sincerely, I appreciate the beautiful insights. We do know sometimes life can be really tough, could feel really stressed out. Things can be really heavy on us, but we shouldn't use those things that are really a burden toward us as something that will take out of our home. We should try our best to give the sense of slowness, to give ourselves the sense of breath, to let all those pressures come down so that we can be able to deal with situations with more wisdom and other practices, as you've said, like the words you said, that we can actually say to ourselves, because positive words to ourselves really, really helps. Because it's what we
Mm,
say to ourselves is what those are the things that reflect back to what we actually feel and how we actually react to it. So if we can say positive things to ourselves, then those things can give the sense of calmness. If we say, I am going to be calm, I want to be calm, and it will definitely happen. We do not want to rush into situations because when the way we rush into situations and the way things can even become more difficult for us, and we might not even be able to get what we actually want. We don't want that for ourselves. We want to live a life sense of calmness, to be more patient and calm enough to actually live our life and also be happy as well. True positive word and also the practices you brought and also other things you said along the way. And also, there's something we call consistency. Because when
Hmm.
one is practicing this thing, one has to be very consistent to the point whereby he or she doesn't get tired or he or she doesn't see it as probably maybe I won't do it today. Let me just, leave like that and not do it. You understand? So many people try rituals, but probably most of them struggle with consistency. So what do you think are also the mindset shift that can help someone make grounding practices a natural part of their life rather than another chore, Mrs. Alicia?
Hmm. Yeah, excellent question. And this is definitely something that everyone struggles with. And so here's the thing, there's a lot of coaches out there that are going to give you a lot of ideas of, oh, try this and do this and do this, and this will change your life and this will work. The thing is, we're all right. Every single one of us are right that it will change your life, but it will only change your life if you're consistent with it. And so there is a huge piece of willpower here and changing your life so that your life can change. And if you set your life up in such a way that the morning rituals become important, become embedded into your day, then it's much easier to do it. And that's why I say, get up that 30 minutes earlier, go to bed that 30 minutes earlier as well, and make sure that you're getting a really good sleep. And, we're just talking about morning in this, but it's actually everything that you do throughout your day. If you decide, I want to become this person, I want to become this best version of myself. Okay, well, you have to fully commit to that. And to fully commit to that, you have to figure out the pieces that are stopping you from getting from point A to point B, where alignment is, what it is that you are trying to align with. And so consistency is incredibly important because even for me, when I started doing morning declarations, it was probably somewhere around day 30 where I was like, oh, I'm jamming now. I'm really starting to enjoy this. And like, it is really a part of my life now. And so that consistency that I cultivated came through the fact that I moved my life around. I committed to that new self that I am trying to become, that alignment that I am trying to move towards. And then I added the pleasurable and the luxury aspects to it. So, one pleasurable thing, as I mentioned, is my coffee. So sitting down with this, and because it's in this cup instead of just like a regular, if you hear that, that's just like my to-go coffee cup sound. Um, it lasts hot for about an hour. So I really get to have this slow sipping experience. I put this music on and I make it this really pleasurable, luxurious experience for myself. And that really helps me to sit down and do it consistently because everybody, most people, I should say, enjoy a hot drink in the morning. It's probably coffee. I can't do coffee. I'm naturally caffeinated. I'll just vibrate off this planet if I drink coffee. So I use cacao and decaf coffee to make this beautiful drink. And so I've created this time and this spaciousness for myself to sit and enjoy. And now, through the willpower of getting myself to do it on a day-to-day basis, it is now embedded in my life. So now it does not even feel close to, it's not even an option. This is just what I do now. And I've actually gotten my husband into it as well. And so my husband and I sit down, we wake up, within 5 minutes, we're making our drinks. We sit down and we turn on our spiritual practice. We're in the same spiritual program and we do about 10 to 15 minutes of spiritual practice, learning. And then we spend another 10 to 15 minutes discussing that to really embed it. And then I'm like, okay, husband, you need to leave because I have to do my morning declaration. I have to do my journaling. I have to do my scripting. I have to do all of these pieces. And sometimes he's trying to sit there and scroll. And I'm like, get out of here. um, so consistency comes from willpower at first, but also let's take in these luxury pieces and add that as like little added bonuses that you get to like feel cozy and safe in the morning. And so then you get to move into your day. And I guarantee you, if you do that for 2 weeks, especially if you live a really stressful life or you have a really stressful job, do this for 2 weeks and then don't do it for one day and see what the difference is. Because the difference is massive. When you start your day in this safe, connected place, because if you don't, you go out into the world and you're second guessing yourself. You're experiencing all of this self-doubt. You don't trust yourself. You don't trust your intuition. You're not connected with these pieces. You're reactive. You're saying the wrong thing. You're being awkward. All of these pieces that you are trying to fix. Well, I'm here telling you, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. And it's going to take a little bit of willpower. Make it luxurious, make it nice, get yourself a nice heated blanket. Whatever it is that you can do to make this experience feel good, get it in there and set it up in that way.
Sincerely appreciate the beautiful insights, Mrs. Alicia. As we, as humans, we should try our best to make sure we are in a position whereby we are actually doing what we find very easy to do in our daily life. The little things that we know we can do, as you're doing, giving the coffee or the caffeine stuff that you do drink, and other things as well that you feel like you find very easy, and you are doing this consistently because when we do things once, it doesn't bring out the results we need. It's when we do it constantly. That is when the result starts to comes out. That is when we start to see the beauty of what we've been doing for a long time because our body is different. What one might do in a week, it might take some people a month before it actually starts to yield results. But when we do it with
Hmm.
consistency and with joy and with the passion, because it is something we find very easy to do, one, and it's also something that we are always motivated to do every single day, no matter how little it is. We can definitely continue to do that and groom that to the point whereby we are seeing changes and the developments are coming along the way. So I sincerely appreciate
Hmm.
those beautiful insights, Mrs. Alicia. I would just like to drive to the point of recognition because we have to recognize if we are actually get being in a position whereby we are having our old habits, those habits that make us to be in a point whereby we just want to rush the way the body usually just want us to do it, or we are
Hmm.
actually in a point whereby we're calm enough. So some rituals also require letting go of old habits or belief. So how do you
Hmm.
think listeners can try their best to recognize when a ritual is supporting growth or when
Hmm.
they are just going through emotions along the way, Mrs. Alicia?
Excellent question. The first thing that I'm going to say on that is don't fake it. Like there's fake it till you make it, which I love fake it till you make it. And that's like standing in a power pose, being like, I am a powerful and confident person. That works. That actually works. But then there's the other one, faking it, just being like, okay, here's my morning declaration. I am powerful. I am wise. I am wealthy. Just like now you've turned it into this thing that you just have to get through. This is a sign of a high stressed, overwhelmed, overstimulated person. Because if you cannot choose to have joy in that moment, and you mentioned joy, and joy is such a big part of it. If anybody out there right now, ask yourself, do I feel joy spontaneously, regularly? Okay, check in with that. Because if you are, and I've been there so many times, and I've been like, oh my gosh, I should be like in so much joy right now, but I'm not. And that's a problem. And that's because of the disconnection from self, the disassociation, high stress, just running through life, being anxious around everything. And so the first thing that you want to recognize is, oh yeah, I'm not doing this with joy. It's not that there's no joy here. It's that I'm not doing this with joy. We actually, as individuals, get to decide where joy is. And this may not work on day one. If you are a person, especially with clinical depression or anxiety, it can be very difficult to feel the joy. But we have to lift ourselves up internally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in all these ways and try to cultivate the joy, try to bring the joy into something. So if you notice, and this happened to me yesterday, I was reading my morning declaration and I read over part of it and then I tried to remember what I had just read and I'm like, I don't remember it because I'm just reading it now. And I'm like, okay, no, stop, slow down, pay attention. Who am I? What am I doing? What am I trying to accomplish? Okay, I'm coming back to this. I'm going to read it slower. I'm going to make my voice go up and I'm going to make my voice go down. And so that it ignites my brain in that moment so that my brain starts to become more involved and I can find and cultivate my joy in that moment. And then also at the same time, if those rituals start to feel dead, like you have outgrown them, and so this happens to me every month or so. It's like every month I'm moving forward in my business, I'm moving forward in my personal life, I'm moving forward in all of the ways. So that morning declaration no longer applies to me. So I need to completely rewrite it. And so I do that. I completely rewrite it and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, this feels so great again." So we also have to recognize when something is dead for us. It's like this ritual done in this way or these words said in this way are no longer creating that for me. So instead of just walking away from it, I'm going to switch it with something. I'm going to find something else. And so, for example, if somebody doesn't really like the morning declaration, there is affirmation songs that you can get off of Spotify. It's super hippie, beautiful, wonderful affirmation songs, and there's tons of playlists. And so, if sitting down and doing a morning declaration doesn't work for you, you can do this instead. You can stick that on, and dance and shake and hum and use your voice. And so here we are, and this is another morning ritual that I use is like change your frequency. Change what you are tuned into. If you are a radio and you're tuned into lack of joy, well, let's get some joy going. What is your favorite song from your teenage years? What did you go to sock hops to? Like, who's your favorite artist? What's your favorite album? Get that on, pump it up, and move your body and tell your body to feel this and to get into this frequency. Let's reignite the joy back in the body. And then when you sit down to do a declaration, imagine doing that first and then coming back to your declaration. And then you're just like, oh, yeah, like, let's go. I feel my body, every cell of my body is in joy and in happiness. And so now let's take that and put that into my morning declaration because the morning declaration is doing the change. It is what is changing things. It's making you understand and truly believe that you can become the best version of yourself. And that's what we all want for you. And that's what we all want for ourselves. And the more that all of us can become our best self, and even every single day, it's not going to feel like it. It's not going to feel like today it didn't feel like it worked. Da, 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 da. Just keep going. Keep trying to figure out how to infuse joy in that. And that again brings us back to consistency. Like you are the consistency. There's no special sticker reward system, or a third grade teacher that's going to show up at your house and force you to do something. Consistency is something that you have to decide. Do you want to become that person? Is that important enough for you? You need to spend some time. This could be part of your morning practice. How important is it for me to become that person, my best self? How important is it for me to get that promotion and make that much money so that I can take my family on vacation every year? How important? Feel that. Engage with that. How important? Okay, that is important. Come back to that place of importance instead of complacency.
Mm. I sincerely appreciate your beautiful insights, Mrs. Alicia. We all have different, as I said earlier, we all have different personalities. We also have different ways we actually live our life. We have different self-being, and that is why what works for I as a person will be very different from what works for Mrs. Alicia. And we have to recognize that when we realize that we are following a certain pattern and we realize that it's not really helping us, the joy is not there, then we can try our best to make a little bit shift, as you said, listen to reaffirmation music and stuff like that. Things that we know that joy is in it. We are feeling the sense of joy. When there is joy in what we are doing, then we start to see the improvement. The improvement starts to come in. Sometimes
Mhm.
those joys, sometimes it feels boring, as you said. Sometimes it just feels good, and we just have to keep moving. So far, it's something that we know that it works for us, and it actually gives us the joy that we need in our time. Those things are one of the best things we can do for ourselves because we cannot just stick to something that isn't working for us, that isn't working in our own pattern. Another person can do it and it will work very much well for him or her. And that is how this world is. We just have to know, what we do understand that this gives me joy and this gives me the consistency and happiness that I can continue to do this with joy and I'm actually feeling and seeing the improvement in me. So I sincerely appreciate those beautiful insights, Mrs.
Mm-hmm.
Alicia. And also, Mrs.
Mm-hmm.
Alicia, there is a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mrs. Alicia, what do you think that thing will be, Mrs. Alicia?
I can't even tell you how much I love this question. Like this is such a wonderful question, and this is where a lot of my spiritual study and everything. I have a million of these, but I can definitely tell you what I think is the most important, and that is women tracking the moon cycle with their own menstrual cycle. Because here's the thing, even with these daily rituals, everything that we're talking about with joy. Okay, so if there is no joy today, that could be an indication that you're starting to PMS. And if you're starting to PMS, okay, so the moon is waning or it's waxing, depending where you're bleeding. And that's why I think it's so important to know where you are on this double circle that kind of goes over each other. To really important to understand that, because this is an ancient practice, is that women used to have these staffs and they would draw each moon symbol into this staff and they would follow it day by day. And it's also an indication of where they were because of the stars that were around the moon at the time. There's so much depth and so much amazingness there. But what it came down to was we as women need to understand where our dips are going to be, these emotional and physical dips that we're going to have, so that we can prepare for that, because we are not men, we are not masculine, we are feminine, and we work in this chaos. But the thing is, we can organize that chaos to a degree. I have apps, I write it all into my agenda. And when I start to PMS, oh, I feel it almost immediately, because that's when I'm yelling at another car. And I'm like, they can't hear me. And they didn't really do anything wrong, but I'm like, God, get out of my way, you know? And so then I know, okay, I need to start pulling back things from my life. Like what can I cancel? And I need to spend more time in self-care so that I stay inside of that alignment instead of allowing my PMS or my bleed to take me out of my character, to take me out of my joy, to take me out of my routines. And this is what happened all the way through my 20s, was basically just destroying my life every single month, because my cycle is so intense that I would be like, "Oh, I guess I don't like my boyfriend anymore, or I don't like this job anymore," and I would start quitting things and breaking up with people, and because I didn't really understand what was happening. And so this is an ancient practice. There is so, you can find it in every single country all
Mm.
around the world. There's these books written on how women in every single country are shown to have followed the moon cycle and understood it. And that understanding, especially for us in modern times, is so important. We need to understand ourselves, work yourself. Don't try to schedule yourself. I'm going to work out every single day. I'm going to do this every single day. That's not going to work for you, and that's going to kill your joy and kill your consistency. So the more that you know yourself, and specifically for women, if you can follow the moon and follow your menstrual cycle, looking at them both together, then you could know exactly, okay, so I film courses and I only film courses while I'm ovulating. I'm never going to film a course while I'm PMSing, because I'm just going to be like, like, but when I'm ovulating, I'm like, I'm so excited and here's everything that I know. And so that's my best place to come out into the world with. And my PMS is my best place to come within myself. So that is love the question again, and that would definitely be my top recommendation, specifically for women, around ancient practices and bringing that back into the modern world. Because honestly, we need that from every single culture. I love learning from other cultures,
Yes.
these ancient practices that we can bring in.
Sincerely, I agree with you. We do know that there are a lot of practices during that time that can really help us in our life today. As you've said, for the part of women, we need to understand ourselves better and know a lot of practices that we can use to help ourselves so that we won't live a life whereby we make conclusions very easily. It won't help us. We take our time and we'll actually work on practices that can help and also improve the life that we find ourselves. Despite a woman and also a man as well, also. So I also want to use this opportunity, Mrs. Alicia, for the time, the opportunity you've given to me to have this profound and insightful discussion for every single one listening today. Thank you so much, Mrs. Alicia.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This was wonderful.
All right, Mrs. Alicia. Have a wonderful day, Mrs. Alicia. Bye bye.
Bye.